Reddit, what is your worst experience of waking up after a one-night stand? I wake up to him saying shit. My dad wasn't supposed to come home so early. I had just thought he lived with roommates. He tells me to jump in his closet. I'm fully nude and my clothes are in the living room. I start to argue but he insists and so I get in there and hear them having small talk for almost an hour. I realize I really have to pee. And they just drag on and I'm dancing around. And then the guy I slept with left for work. And I can hear the dad making breakfast and just settling in. I panic. How am I gonna get my clothes? Duck my clothes. I lose his clothes. So I take the stuff in the closet. All I found were shirts. I ducking ran for my life full speed through the house with 6 hair and a long shirt to my car. The dad yelled, "What the damn hell, who are you?" She was actually really cute and she got up to leave so I just said lock the door behind you because super hungover. So finally I make my way out of bed and she had taken all of the food in my house along with my blender. Like, how the duck did you pull this off? Methodica won't get out of bed. Methodica drooling on his pillow. Shouting at my ass to lock his ducking door. Methodica should have made me some toast. That's all I ducking wanted, toast. I wonder if he's got any. Oh. A blender. Nothing says good morning like a toddler tugging on the blankets saying, "Mommy, who is that in your bed? Try this one, is that our new dad?" The son of a bitch stayed for 2 days after and then actually called me back and kept being there for 3 years. Asked me to marry him a few months ago. The big dick. Woke up with no memory of each other. Then she began screaming about being late to her grandma's funeral. Dropped her off in a tiny dress, not wearing shoes, still drunk as duck in front of her entire extended family. How can people be in such a hurry and not bother to put shoes on? Did the family look surprised? Was at a local spot a few years back. Met this girl who was pretty hot, according to 10 of my closest cocktails. Anyways. Chill for a bit. Head to her house. Smackaditaz and fall asleep. I woke up and noticed a book bag. etc. School books. Ask her what she's studying and she tells me she goes to the local HS. I'm a little inside and leave. I ran into her a few weeks later and it turns out she was ducking with me cause she needed me out of the house before her roommates got home. Hooked up with this super hot chick at a festival. She lived near so she insisted we go back to her house. After an entire morning and almost afternoon of loud crazy 4 hours. I decided to go downstairs for a drink. Turns out she didn't live alone like she said. But she lived with her 2 brothers. Both of whom looked like they had been on the juice. I casually had to continue my stroll to the fridge shirtless. Then introduce myself. They both jump off the couch and try staunch me. Asking who I was and where I was from. She then came downstairs and introduced me. And then asked them to drive me home. Being the older sister they had to say yes. Being super far from home I had to oblige to the offer. I got a lift with the brothers of the girl I had just ducked the life hour of all night. She left her wallet open. She was not 18. I ran. After my first night with my eventually ex-husband, he rolled over and asked Jennifer, "Did we have sex last night?" My name is not Jennifer, should have run at that point. She woke up and said she wanted to marry me and have kids. Haha. And she thought I was crazy because I forgot her stupid dog's name. Very first time I had sex was very drunk. Woke up and couldn't remember if I wore a condom and don't remember finishing. She couldn't remember where I finished either, so we assumed the worst. That I dumped inside her. 3 weeks later she told me she was late. That was the longest month of my life. Edit, she wasn't pregnant. We ended up married and have a son now. First of all, I don't remember any of this. After a Labor Day party this year, I was walking back to my apartment and watching all the Snapchats my friends sent me. My one friend had Snapchatted me ducking this girl on a couch in the middle of the party. She was insanely hot, so that was fine, but it was my worst experience because I don't remember having sex with the hottest girl I have ever ducked. What a terrible experience. I'm not sure how you ever recovered from the public shame and humiliation of banging a hot girl in front of all your friends and only having photographic evidence to remember it by. The traumatic experience of not remembering it firsthand must be devastating to your depleted spank bank. Thank you for sharing your experience with the denizens of Reddit, and I hope this experience was cathartic for you as you continue to rebuild yourself from this tragic loss. I woke up to his crazy female roommate vacuuming the hallway outside of his room for over an hour, banging the vacuum into his door over and over again. I guess she was trying to wake us up so I would leave, but we ended up just waking up and having sex while she was vacuuming. Had a ducking crazy one night stand right after HS with a teacher's pet girl who I thought always hated me. Was still at my parents' place, so I snuck her in. In the morning my dad came right on into my room to grab my keys to move my car for whatever reason. I was totally naked, half covered, and the girl was tits up still asleep, uncovered. The look I shared with my dad in that moment was kind of like, good work boy, and you are in so much trouble. I had to blanket up and take my keys downstairs where he was waiting. He put a lock on the liquor cabinet after that. I met a girl at a show that my band was playing at. Went back to her place. Had sex 3 or 4 times that night. Then fell asleep at probably 7 AM. I wake up at about 9 AM. Completely disoriented. And hear her boyfriend kissing her saying looked like you guys had fun last night. He was apparently watching us the entire time. I didn't even know she had a roommate. My friend told me this story. That friend of him had a one night stand while being completely drunk. They both slept naked. The next morning, he wakes up and wants to go to the bathroom. He then notices he sheet in that girl's bed while they were both asleep. Now, still completely drunk, he has to think about getting out of that situation smooth. He could have just ran away, but instead he decided to gently push that girl into his sheet. He then cleaned himself and left. Just imagine that girl waking up, remembering she had a one night stand. Then she notices the sheet she's lying on and thinks she has to be the one who shat in the bed, and the guy must have ran away in disgust. Sorry for the English, I'm German. Drunken one-nighter with ex-wife. She was seeing someone at the time, who is a really good guy. When I got my thoughts together, I was probably more sick to my stomach out of grief than the hangover. We were having a birthday party for our daughter and she hung around cleaning up and playing with her. After the girl went to bed, we had friends over that turned into a few beers, then a few shots. Then some cuddling, sleeping together. Then the awkward morning after. We didn't say a word as I helped her gathered her things and she left as quick as she could. Decided never to drink around her again. I hooked up with this one chick. Give her the combo. Do my dastardly deed and crash. Wake up next day with hands crusted together from her vaginal juices. Too drunk to think and realize that she is ugly, and waking up, I run out of her place. Walking down the road. My friends pull over as they see me stumbling around and holding my hands out like they're crab claws. Worst day ever. Other one. Hook up with this chick in military town bar. Neglect the fact the soldiers just left that morning. Wake up at her house and see pics of her husband and family. Go to living room and see 2 kids like 4 and 5 years old. They ask who I am and their mom says I'm their uncle and stopped by for a place to crash. Could never reach out to the soldier. But then again, he had a mean gum rack. After a night of binge drinking tequila and being thrown out of no fewer than 3 bars, my new acquaintance decided to get us a ride back to her place by walking out in traffic and getting in the first car that slams on its brakes. I remember a brief moment of clarity and doubt as she was beckoning me from the back seat. But the tequila squashed that. Next thing I know, I'm in one of the strangest apartments I have ever seen. Every inch of wall space is covered in random animal furs and strange objects. I spent a good 15 minutes wandering around the apartment, wondering WTF had happened. I checked the bed 3 times to see if I recognized her, but she was just as much a mystery. She was really hot though, thank God. Eventually it started coming back to me about the same time she woke up. She asked if we had sex. I wasn't sure. But judging from the lengthy scratches on my back, I said I think we did. She was upset that she didn't remember and wanted a redo. First time a chick demanded a facial from me. My then GF at the time came round my house and told me she was sleeping with someone else. Devastated at this news, I decided to bin her off and go out and chase tail. I somehow managed to drunkenly get with a girl and we head back to her place. I was about to say goodnight and leave it there as I was feeling pretty fragile and only lived 10 minutes walk away. She asked me, "Where do you think you're going?" and took my hand and led me to her room. We go at it and shortly after the deed is finalized she tells me she was a virgin. I felt pretty bad but shrugged it off. When I woke in the morning and realized what I had done in my heartbroken drunken state, I felt awful. I didn't really want to see this girl again but felt duty bound as I was her first. I saw her a couple of times after that, but it was just awkward as I was all over the place. My worst and only one night stand. Edit, a letter. I had never had a one night stand before. I met some guy at a party and was feeling adventurous. Went back to his room and talked until 4 AM. One of the topics was sexual fantasies. We shared ours, his. No surprise. Being two girls at once, mine being some light bondage. We had sex. He wanted to tie me up but I felt uncomfortable since I didn't know him. In the morning, I walked back to my dorm and slept off the rest of the morning. Later in the day, that guy's dorm was having a BBQ, so I walked back over there with a friend. When I walked in, every single guy there put up his arms crossed at the wrist in a bondage position and started laughing at me. I was completely mortified. Walked home with my friend so freaking confused why this guy would immediately tell everyone our pillow talk. And the thing was, he was a pretty bad lay. I was studying abroad for a semester in Brazil and the university had one night a week where their students would take the exchange students out. Usually it would be a club or bar. And sometimes just drinking on the beach. This night we were at a club. And for some reason I indulged myself a lot more than usual. My first blackout. I woke up the next morning in a strange room. Strange bed. With a cute Brazilian girl beside me. She wakes up and I quickly realize she didn't speak any English. This was only a couple weeks in, so my Portuguese was nil to none, to be honest. My wallet was missing. My shirt was ripped. She wanted to go another round that morning, which I did so I could at least remember it this time. Then I realized I was in an area of the city that isn't exactly the safest. Had to break out her computer and use Google Translate to tell her to call me a cab. And then have her loan me money to get back to my dorm. Oh. And replacing credit and debit cards overseas is a breeze. Let me tell you. Moral of the story, doesn't matter. Had sex. I could not for the life of me find my pants. I guess late at night I spilled a drink on myself and she put them in her dryer. I couldn't sneak out. To this day she's got your pants nailed to the wall beside a shirt of some lumberjack and a pair of jizz-stained boxers. That chick was the hunter. And you were just another trophy. Got insanely drunk at a hipster bar and met this cute little pixie chick. We went back to place. Double back beasted it. And passed out on her bed. Or what I thought was her bed. When I awoke the next morning, it became abundantly clear that she had absolutely no furniture in her room. Every surface, this includes bed and makeshift desk, was comprised solely of dirty clothes. Literal mountains of them. It didn't smell too bad, considering, but still wasn't pleasant. I sneaked out while she was burrowing deeper into the bed pile. My friend had a one night stand with a dude she met on Tinder. When she woke up she saw that he pissed, sheet, blood, and he spit phlegm almost everywhere. Her mirrors were covered in phlegm. Her bed sheets and mattress were soaked in piss and blood. Her couch was soaked in piss. Her carpets were smeared with sheet. It cost her thousands of dollars to fix. I didn't exactly wake up, but I had a sudden clarity midway through that made me nope the duck out of there. She was larger than I would normally go for, but I was drunk as hell and just wanting anything. I had never been with a BBW before, so thought I should at least try it once instead of ruling it out. We had been fooling around for about an hour. Each part I touched seemed to sober me up more and more. The cellulite on the legs, rolls on her hips, her back tits, and when she bent over so I could go from behind her as just looked huge, and the back of her legs were like balloons filled with scrambled eggs. I told her I'd had too much to drink and would rather not be sick all over her apartment due to the motions. Got out of there and went straight to McDonald's for breakfast and a strong coffee. I now know that big girls aren't for me, even when drunk as hell. Late to the party. Didn't actually hook up, but stayed at the house of a co-worker's friend, on her couch after a night of drinking. Come morning, I wake up to her boyfriend punching me in the chest. He had kicked in the door and trashed the place. I left and went home. A year later, they found the girl had been murdered. I was in Indonesia. Woke up and couldn't find the condom. Never saw her again. So no clue if there's a little Asian version of me running around in East Asia. I thought this one was going to go. I woke up in Indonesia. I do not remember going to Indonesia. Freshman year of college. Went to this party with my 3 friends. My one friend had been hitting on this extremely pale girl with the brightest red lipstick, not a good look, who then introduced me and my other friend to her roommate. My other friend took charge, flirting with the roommate all night. I just liked her bobs. Didn't care, wanted to drink alcohol. Anyway, proceed to get hammered and leave the party by myself to go home. Get a text halfway home from my friend talking to the roommate that I should come to the girl's room. Me and my stupid decided it would be a grand idea. Get there and proceed to make everyone laugh for a half hour. Outshine my other friend and end up courting the roommate, sending my friend home in the process. Long story short, bang the roommate on the top bunk, while my friend is banging the pale chick below. Girl keeps saying she has to work early in the morning, but she keeps screaming and we keep going at it. Her alarm goes off at like 6 and I turn it off without realizing it or something. So we both wake up around 12 and she is late for work, at the cafeteria. She leaves and I'm left in there with pale girl and my friend. We all proceed to get up and decide to go to breakfast. And we get there just in time to see big boobed roommate get fired. She was part of a work plan scholarship, so this was a huge deal, because technically she lost her funding for school, which was like $15,000 at this private college. So she sits down where we are eating our breakfast and proceeds to break down, which I'm in no condition to help her with. I was still trying to piece together how I got with her. Anyway, it turns out I ruined her life. Forgot her name. And my other friend really wanted to get with her and held a grudge for the remainder of our friendship. All in all, not a bad night. But the pale girl dated my friend and things were tense since she had to live alone the rest of the year. She told me I could sleep in as she left for work early, just to lock the door on my way out. Her estranged husband decided to pop over, notices me in the bed, naked, gets pissed off, rants about how she's a terrible person. And OBTW, did she mention she was married and has a kid? I start get dressed. As I'm putting my shoes on, husband picks up TV VCR combo and is about to leave. I say, don't steal her TV. She's going to think I did it. He did not seem to care. First day on holiday in Prague. Met this girl at a bar and went back to hers as you do. Woke up the next morning and realized I didn't remember where I was staying. She told me to get a tram to the city center and I might find it from there. Problem is I didn't know what the city center looked like either, so I winged it, and apparently I must have some homing pigeon genes in me because I chose one direction and before I knew it I was back at where I was staying. Thought I was gonna die in that place.